first live stream ever with a humanoid robot. Doesn't get much better than that. So excited to be joined by the team from Crane Shares. We've got the KOID, the KOID bot in the back here. It's going to do some incredible stuff for us. It's going to blow your mind. Well, we'll see. But there's tons on the internet, and it was at the New York Stock Exchange the other day. I was walking around London, ringing bells. These things are officially here. The robots are here. I've been waiting. I actually remarked yesterday that there were some things that a robot could really be helpful with, so I can't wait to get one into my own house over here. But enough talking from me. Teddy, going to you first. You have the robot over there with you. Please give everybody just a brief introduction of yourself, and maybe we can see the robot do a couple things, and then we're going to roll into some more detail here.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for the introduction. And yeah, this is KOID. So it's been all around New York City. It was just in London. And it's our partnership with Crane Shares, and they've been awesome just working with us, not only to understand the market, but then giving us a bunch of information on their side. And of course, they have their ECF. But KOID is a Unitree G1 EDU Plus. So this is a programmable robot. Right now, he's being controlled by a remote control, but the secondary computer on the back of it is able to be programmed and have like autonomous functions, and that's a lot of what we're working on now. I'll give you a brief overview. There's a lot to unpack. By the way, my name is Teddy Haggerty, and I'm the founder of RoboStore. So we're the official partner of Unitree in the United States. And not only are we an integrator and developer of robots, but we're the largest global supplier of Unitree. And Unitree is a quadruped, humanoid, and full robotics company based in Hangzhou, China. And they're at the forefront of robotics. They've deployed more quadrupeds and humanoids than anyone in the world right now. So this is really the most deployed humanoid, and I'm sure you've seen them all over the web all over the place. From RizBot, if you've seen RizBot floating around YouTube, KOID, and we've had integral parts of all those deployments, and RoboStore has been there to kind of figure out, hey, what can we deploy from a software side, and then also how do we keep the hardware going? And you'll see him just walking around, and what's cool is when this was launched in January, it was really launched in January at CES. The way he walked it wasn't as fluid as it is today. So as over-the-air upgrades get better, we're watching the deployment and the new movement of the robot be 10x what it was. Like it's very robot-y before. Now we're walking kind of like a drunk guy in Times Square. But the idea is the sways and everything that it's catching its balance is stuff where a human is really being, I guess, pushed when we're awkward people, right? So when a human is opening a door or doing a function, sorry, I get distracted with this clanking all over the place. But when a human's doing something, it's you're balancing, you're thinking, and these are all pieces to put together inside the humanoid function. So there's a lot more that goes into it than people think of just like, hey, this humanoid product is going to get out on the market right now and just start folding your clothes. And I'd love to get into more of that. Sorry for the lengthy introduction here, but there's a lot to unpack, and I hope we get to it.
No, you're great. I really want to dive into this, and I'm going to bring up some details here from Derek and go right into things. But the big question for me is, are we thinking too small? Last night I had like 100 pages that I had to scan in a scanner, and I was like, man, I wish I had a robot here, right? Or it's like, I want my dishes to be done. But are we just thinking too small here as to what's truly possible is kind of the question that comes to mind for me. So I know that there's a bunch of content here. We're super excited to have Brendan and Derek on. Going to go over to them. Brendan, coming to you first for a second as I pull this up, just for a quick, synopsis overview of what people should be thinking about from that investment perspective when they see this area. And then also, after you say that, and I pull this up, I'm going to read some quick disclosures, and we will get into the depths of things.
Yeah, I think first and foremost is we've been traveling to Asia. I've been to Asia 6 times this year. Derek just got back from a trip to China, meeting with a whole number of different robotics manufacturers, companies within that manufacturing ecosystem. And I think our extensive time traveling to Asia has actually given us a little bit of a sneak peek of what the future is going to look like. And I think if you listen to Goldman Sachs, they think there'll be 76,000 humanoid robots by 2027, 502,000 by 2032. They're a little bit more on the conservative side. At the other end of the spectrum, you have a Morgan Stanley. They think there'll be 900,000 humanoid robots by 2030, 134 million by 2040, and 1 billion by 2050. So I think the truth is probably somewhere in the middle, but it just shows that and Teddy alluded to this, that the robots, we're talking about, basically these functional, robotic cars, and AI is allowing this quantum leap forward to something that's becoming very functional, very helpful, and going to be a big part of our lives in the not too distant future. I really do believe that.
I'm on the same page. I think it's happening faster than ever. Really want to get into what we have here on the screen. Prior to doing so, just a quick compliance voiceover here, which is important for the people that are watching this, because obviously there is a ETF here that we're discussing, KOID, that I encourage everybody to go check out. So investors, please be careful and carefully consider a fund's investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses before investing. A fund's prospectus and summary prospectus contain this and other information about Crane shares. To obtain a fund's prospectus and summary prospectus, you can go right to the website, craneshares.com. And a fund's prospectus and summary prospectus should be read carefully prior to investing. Super excited to be working together with you guys. Let's get right into it. Derek, if you want to put this into presentation mode and start walking us through some of it, that would be awesome.
Yeah, sounds good. Can you see the deck?
Yes, we can see it, but we can also see some of the other decks on the sides. It's fine if you want to do it this way, but I think if you hit the present button, it will pull this full screen.
Sure. Yeah, how about now?
Perfect. Beautiful.
Great. Yeah, so thanks for having me. My name is Derek Yan, Senior Investment Strategist with Crane Shares. And as like many people are already seeing what Teddy has presented and Brandon described, this is really an opportunity, I think, like just emerged recently that are getting a lot of attention by global investors. So at Crane Shares, for people who don't know our firm background, we're a New York-based asset management company. We manage about $13 billion. We were founded in 2013. Our mission is really to provide investors very innovative, high conviction, and first to market strategies. So KOID, KOID, is our latest launch to tap into the global humanoid and embodied intelligence opportunity by investing into the ecosystem of the humanoid integrators, the brain company providing the intelligence behind it, and also the body company that providing the components, the actuation system, the mechanical system, or the resources to build a humanoid. So we believe this portfolio is a good investment solution for investors who really want to tap into this emerging opportunity that's really going to change the world, I think, dramatically going forward in the next 5 to 10 years. So that is the KOID. But as you see, Unitree G1 model that Teddy just showed us, the latest models of all the humanoid recently just very impressive. Just G1, for example, is the speed of running and the movement can do a lot of it's really fully programmable, as Teddy just mentioned. Just with every upgrade, you have more actions, you have more functions available. Same for many other models like Tesla's Optimus, I think being a bartender as a restaurant, and Elon mentioned that they are planning to really change the business model of Tesla and letting the humanoid be the future growth driver. You're gonna see the Optimus gonna work in the Tesla factory going forward. Same for other many home use humanoid models like 1X. Figure AI is really famous startup right now, raising $1 billion recently with a valuation of $39 billion. Is really developing their own vision language action model to really create a generalized humanoid can do multiple tasks, including factories and homes. So all those latest models, it just give you a very clear message. The robots are here, but why? So why now is a big question. I think a big force driving this revolution is really the AI, but not AI in the digital world, what we already know, right? In the ChatGPT, in a lot of those AI models, it's really the AI scientist is putting the action data into, putting a lot of vision data in our world into AI training. They realize there's a potential to create a new GPT moment for the physical AI in our physical world So that is called an embodied intelligence. So it's the AI that can see, can hear, can move, can interact with our real life environment. So that's going to have much bigger potential to change the economy using the power of AI. We have seen so many companies now doing this research, including like Google's DeepMind and XAI is developing the world model that is really like creating a digital world that can be trained to solve a lot of complicated problems in our physical world. And also you have companies like Figure, Galbot, using a vision language action model, incorporating a lot of large language models into the operating system of the humanoid. So all those brain like intelligence upgrade gonna make the humanoid smarter and smarter every day. We're gonna see a major breakthrough in the humanoid space very likely soon. Just like NVIDIA, they make a big announcement into their foundational model in the Isaac group. Is the one of the first open source humanoid robotic foundational model. I think like a lot of new scientists going to join this game to change our physical world through the humanoid robotics. So that solved the big problems. Like then who's going to buy it, right? Then we can see our world today. Like there's aging population, there's labor shortage everywhere. Not only in the United States, but also a lot of Asian countries like Japan, like China, like Germany. There's a lot of shortage in the factories, warehouses, a lot of service sector. There's labor costs rising. There's like inflation because of that. So as Brandon just mentioned, there's like projection by Goldman, Morgan Stanley, because of the demand from the aging population and labor shortage, we're gonna see probably like a billion unit of humanoid by 2050. That's about $5 trillion of total addressable market. So that's a big economy going forward. Um, so what kind of like scenarios we're gonna see those? First, in factories and warehouses, there's a lot of like repetitive, dangerous, like hazardous, like tasks, like really dangerous for a human. Like how many workers lose their hand operating like a lot of dangerous machines in factories, in the warehouses. There's a lot of space that's really designed not really flexible for industrial arm to automate the logistics, but the human shape is very ideal for a lot of warehouses because most of the warehouses today are really designed for human. Same for a lot of like service sectors, including hospitals, nursing home, including a lot of retailers, like restaurants, like hotels. You already see a lot of those in our world today. But like with the upgrade of intelligence, you're going to see more use cases for the service sector. And finally, I think our home, as Gal just mentioned, like so many people just hate doing like laundries, like dish cleaning, or just organizing the home. Imagine your kid's birthday party, like what a mess after that. Like if you have a humanoid to really organize everything after a party on the weekend, that's a game changer for a lot of families. So there's a lot of scenarios nowadays. We can see the potential for humanoid to be deployed. But what's the hurdle? So far, the most critical problem is really the cost. As Teddy mentioned, like there's so many components to really make a humanoid, but so far those components are really expensive, including mostly the actuator, the actuation system. Then within that, you need like models, you need like sensors, you need harmonic drive reducers, bearings, encoders. You need a lot of those to really put together a really complex, capable humanoid. They call it like degree of freedom. So how many actions, how many joints and like arms you can really move, what's like kind of like the more like actions going forward you can do. That requires a lot of investment into the supply chain. So with currently there's a lot of startups and the private unicorns in the humanoid space. There's billions of dollars being raised to deploy to make their business scalable. We realized there's a lot of investment opportunities actually for their supply chains and enablers, including the actuation system, the actuator builder, a lot of kind of like mechanical system, as I said, in the harmonic drive reducers, encoders. Those companies going to see a huge demand increase going forward because of humanoid. So that's why we think for investors, there's like three components to invest into the humanoid ecosystem. The most important one we think is the body at this stage, including actuation system, the mechanical system I mentioned, and also the sensing company, the lidars, all the sensors, cameras, and also the critical materials, the rare earth, a lot of resources going to be especially needed for the humanoid build-up. And also the brain company, the technology company, the chip companies is going to provide intelligence, the operating system for humanoid going forward. And finally, of course, the integrators, the company that design, manufacturing, and commercializing the humanoid for all the kinds of like scenarios. So at CraneShares, we are an ETF company, so we designed an index methodology together with our index provider to provide an ecosystem for investors to tap into those opportunities. We started with a 3,000 company universe, narrowed down to most relevant industries, about 800 companies. Within those 800 companies, we look at corporate filings, those media coverage, public available data in their earnings calls, and we identify the like supply chain partnerships for those humanoid startups. So with all those data, we identify about 50 companies that is highest ranking into the humanoid ecosystem, and those 50 companies are equal weighted and rebalanced quarterly. So here we have a portfolio to really capture the early stage of the humanoid ecosystem, including a lot of body company, like I said, a lot of harmonic drive, a lot of bearings, reducers, encoders, a lot of actuation system companies that's really working with the humanoid startups and like big giants like Tesla, and a lot of like sensing lidar company, critical materials company like rare earth. You have a lot of chip and technology company and also integrators companies. We're gonna see more IPOs coming into this space going forward. So this is an emerging opportunity, but I think just at CraneShares, we offer a global portfolio, including many countries like United States, China, Japan, Germany, and across multiple sectors as well. You have tech, you have industrial, consumers, materials. So all those portfolio is going to create a very balanced, diversified way to tap into the humanoid opportunity. So that's why we launched KOID in June 4th, 2025. We listed on NASDAQ and offer global investors a vehicle to really to invest into the humanoid ecosystem. And since inception, as of the end of September, the fund has been up about like 28%. So that's just showing that this is such an early opportunity, but it has a lot of potential for global investors. So with that, I'm gonna going back to the NAV. We're gonna have a more discussion on where's like more topic on the humanoid side.
Perfect. Appreciate that run through there, Derek. That was great. Brendan, were you starting right off there off the back of that?
Yeah, I'm happy to dive in. I think there's no better to kind of leverage what Derek was speaking to, is to leverage the expertise and knowledge of Teddy. Teddy's been a great partner for here at CraneShares, but what he's doing with RoboStore, I think, really is unique. Partnering with Unitree. Unitree is probably not a household name yet here in the United States, but it's filed to go public later on this year. So it'll be front page news when that IPO takes place. Very likely, it looks like it's going to be in Hong Kong. And I think that'll really help investors, here in the U.S., globally, to understand, really some of the expertise that China's developed over the last several decades. That within China, they're not making this isn't about cheap labor, it's about skilled labor, it's about having a manufacturing industrial ecosystem. And I really believe Unitree is at the forefront where, Teddy, I mean, I know in speaking to Camille in London last week, he was talking about how you've seen the production, the daily production at Unitree really accelerate. And just think that'd be a great place to start on, how is this particular company, how are they evolving just over the last several years in terms of their production of humanoid robotics?
Yeah, Brendan, that's a great point. I mean, I was in China, it was, I guess, end of March. And when I was seeing the production numbers, they had grown from a couple dozen units a day that were being put together globally to upwards of 150 to 200 units a day. And in the domestic China market, from a research and development point, and also just the consumer's perspective, and that's the consumer robots are really like a G1 Basic, which is basically this model without the secondary development, and then also a go-to quadruped. They were selling something like 150 units domestically a day. That was the orders that were coming in. And then we look at globally of what's happening in the United States. And as the large distributor, we see it picking up. And what we're watching is we're not really watching a flood of consumers coming to buy the product. We're watching as a lot of companies wanting to get involved and make a new ecosystem off the robotics world. And it's really interesting. And I like that Derek said he's like, as of now, there's like the body, the brain, and there's really like the motors and the physical parts to go around. But what we're watching is I've never seen a market move this quickly, where 6 months ago, we were just trying to get the unit to people. Then after that, we started moving to these small operations that we saw where people had like an idea and it was coming to life so fast. So teleoperations, huge in robotics, which is basically I maneuver this robot as if I'm moving around, but the robot's actually doing the tasks. And that went from just having hands, then hands and arms. And now we're actually having a full body movement where the teleoperation world is like expanding, at a rapid rate, where it's growing so quick because the developers are passing along their code to each other and trying to strengthen it. Now what we're watching is these local LLMs coming online, where we have what was thought to be almost impossible a year ago, which is having a local LLM do all of the basic talking work of having a conversation, almost like ChatGPT does to your phone, right? But now think of this in a humanoid, while having this humanoid at maybe a concierge desks at a hotel, and it's able to answer all these questions about the hotel, give directions, and interact more like a human. We're watching that. And actually, the KOID has that on him. We run a operating system called OpenMind, and OpenMind's kind of at the forefront of that. But what we're watching is that's an ecosystem in itself, because now where does this data get pushed, right? And who pays for this data? So there's companies now creating credits that are basically AI credits for these humanoids to have interactions with something like OpenAI, DeepSeek, and those APIs are creating a whole nother ecosystem of companies to develop credits that are linking those back and forth. Think of it as just like the data being tossed back and forth, and it's being bounced back to the internet. Then that's going to a data center, and that data center's got to be funded, right? And the way that ecosystem's holding out is showing that humanoids are not going to be quote unquote free once they're set up, and that's the logic that everyone had right off the bat. But we're watching this like as any market that comes out into the ether here, we watch like sub ecosystems be created. And that's where we're watching the humanoid market. So people are like, oh, I'm afraid it's going to take my warehouse jobs. But no, it's going to create actually a whole new ecosystem below that for people now to work on not only programming the humanoids, but also integrating them into businesses and be able to get maybe like a 5x factor of human workforce into factories, industrial, healthcare. And we're watching all these sectors come to us and say, how do I integrate robotics today? Right. And our question is, well, what's your expectation? And a lot of people's expectation is actually a lot lower than when we presume, right? We think everyone's like, oh, I'm going to have this G1 and it's going to just start fixing up patients and we get rid of doctors, right? And that's like a logic of maybe 25 years out or something where we get something that good. But we're watching now is they're saying, well, can it, just say hi and be a patient's, we have patients that just want some sort of interaction. And I'm like, oh, yeah, of course we could do that, right? Where we created an integration for their system, and we go and we say, hey, let's make this small LLM where we can just have it interact with the patient. So like there's just so many sub markets being developed, right? And my point is like you don't know what's going to come from it until it starts developing, but I've never seen something rapidly develop this quickly. So where Derek said, hey, there's these pieces now, that's now, right? But tomorrow there might be a whole sub market of companies coming online like NVIDIA and launching a whole new product that's strictly for humanoid computerization and networking and really like where this goes next. So everything out of the box on KOID, these were parts that were not made strictly for humanoids. We have an Intel depth sensor up here. We have a LiveVox 360 LiDAR as under its brain, and that's giving it vision of where it's going, trip and fall, basically looking down at the ground, saying, hey, here's the space between, you know, the differences in the floor. We also have an NVIDIA Orion supercomputer here. That was something made for developer kits for STEM, right? So a lot of the pieces that power this are out of the box computers that actually weren't developed for humanoids. So how many things are now going to be for a humanoid specific market? Or, you know, let's just say humanoids are top level right now, but we want, because the world's built for humans. So obviously going to a humanoid model makes sense. But also we have quadrupeds like you see in the back. Those quadrupeds use the exact same computer systems. There's the four-legged version. And what's beautiful about a quadruped is now your payload goes up. Now you have four legs holding something, right? The humanoid is right now kind of on our biggest humanoid, which is H1, it's limited to about 50, 60 pounds with both hands. You know, G1 is really like 5 to 10 pounds is its sweet spot of maximum, you know, holding capacity. So there's just going to be more robotics that are going to look natural, and we're just going to watch this ecosystem flow. And from stage 1 today, we might be at stage 2 tomorrow with a whole nother software network. So that's my opinion on it.
Yeah, well, I think you allude to a really good point. You know, we spoke a little bit about the G1 Unitree, obviously available for sale on RoboStore, but you spoke a bit about this U.S. technology, and I think this is where it's kind of an interesting, where you have this Chinese industrial manufacturing know-how, but then combined with U.S. tech know-how, and how, you know, you alluded to some of the software, some of the chips, but how important is this U.S. technology know-how, as well as that kind of next step, which I really do think you alluded to, OpenMind, you know, a San Francisco-based Stanford professor's firm about integrating AI within the run. I mean, how important is that U.S. tech to really the next step in, you know, KOID going from being that kind of remote controlled car to that fully functional autonomous housekeeper, nursing home surveillance, you know, you name it. I mean, you know, really, and you know, we could go on and on what
it's endless. Yeah, it's endless, right? The applications they're almost so vague because, you know, whatever a human do, we're in theory, we're like, all right, like a humanoid's going to do, right? So yeah, I mean, the U.S. tech's essential to it. I mean, look at all the stuff that, you know, was kind of in the .com era. Like we had a lot of stuff going on between data centers and software. And what we realized was a lot of the software and the rollouts were being done in the United States, but we're taking a lot of the know-how of the technology and hardware from China, right? And that's how we've always had that relationship. We're kind of like a give or take. Also, the Chinese market, I feel like, is more based upon a hardware. The hardware and the software and solution are a lot of times separated. Where we watch in the United States, they're unified. So we have like someone like Apple, right? They created an operating system. Now they're creating all their hardware. But a couple of years ago, they were dependent on companies like Intel and NVIDIA to build their chip systems and GPUs, right? And they're an outlier, you know, Apple's Apple, right? But what we watch in like the humanoid space is definitely a lot of the US based companies are building the software, and, you know, NVIDIA is a US based company, you know, Intel, these companies may have parts that have special know-how overseas, but ultimately they are developed in the US. So that partnership's really important. And, you know, moving past like the current trade war, I mean, that's where that communication between, you know, US and China has always been a way of basically bringing tech to the stratosphere. And a lot of the companies that have made it into a solution and hardware product, which is what the US consumer wants, right? This product is really not a consumer product. Maybe it's more of a hobbyist product right now, but to the consumer market, the consumers want a product like a Tesla Model 3 that now has self-driving and it has the car hardware built in, right? At a time, the Tesla Model 3, maybe it has basically like glorified cruise control, but in 2015, 2016, when we were all really excited about this self-driving car, it took another 5 years to get to, you know, almost perfection. And we don't really see a lot of self-driving cars, but that's a US-based firm. And even Tesla, they started with the Lotus a bunch of laptop batteries and plugging these pieces together. And that's kind of where we are at the humanoid market. We've taken a lot of the past experiences and just unloaded those onto the humanoid market, where Unitree has put this whole package together in China, but we're relying on a lot of US, companies to make this thing happen. So as Brendan was saying, like, there is a big synergy between the two, and we're watching US firms kind of be at the forefront of the software development and the solution base, where the Chinese firms are more of the package of how to put the hardware together. And I think it requires the two to really come together to say, all right, let's move forward and let's create this product for these specific use cases, instead of looking at like this all-in-one solution for humanoid use. Because it's like ChatGPT in a way. Like, ChatGPT is great at a lot of things, but it's not great at everything yet. But it's getting better every day, and that's kind of the humanoid market. It works on that AI, machine learning, and also all the data we give it. Last point I'll make too is, what's interesting about Unitree is Unitree came out with the product originally for education. So they tossed this product into the atmosphere and said, go do something with it. The first couple months of the G1 and even the Go 2, and we started at the Go 1, which is the original quadruped dog that came to the US, and we really built an education market to teach people how to code and basically learn on the Go 1. So we sold the curriculum and the product to colleges where they'd be able to have a way of learning about robotics. But what that actually did was it brought robotics into the world of education first. And when you bring something into the educational research and development world, you get people that develop on the product and then improve on the product. And Unitree bought this like open source product. It wasn't ready for a consumer market. They let the consumers have it. And what that enabled the next forefront of sort of the AI and boom we see now is these software companies that buy G1 emerge, start building their software on top of it, which is all over the United States right now. And that's a huge part of our country's, software development, protocol is, let's take this product and play with it. And now we're watching these products get perfected so quickly. And there's so much activity on the communities online, the GitHubs and the forums, where people are accelerating the humanoid front so fast. I mean, yesterday's technology is already over, and we figured out a way to make it even better the next day. And Unitree took that open source product and let it into the atmosphere. So they have more data than anyone of like what's affecting humanoid to be better. So we always speak about this between Crane Shares and us, is saying the hardware is like a 9 right now, and the software is like a 1, because we have so much to go. And the infancy of the software and really where the humanoid is, there's so much more to it. But the joints and the motors and everything that's built in the G1, it's really good. And like I made that joke in the beginning, like it like walks almost like a drunk guy, because the fact is humanoids are awkward, right? So having that improvement and keep watching the communities dump more code into, what makes a better footstep, what makes a better way of getting up. You'll watch these videos online, and now people have the G1 responding in milliseconds to a slip and fall. It's responding to getting tripped. It's responding to getting hit so fast. And that same hardware has been available for months, but that software to get it there is just coming to fruition because of what's out in the market and how Unitree just deployed this product.
I would love to see more of the product. I know we talked about doing a little bit of a longer demo in here. Is that something that we could do?
Yeah, so we can walk it around a little bit, and then we'll actually you'll see a robot dog come next to it in a second. But you'll see on the G1, these are all like presets that we have. In a longer demonstration, we'd love to show you guys like how the LLMs work and how you have the voice to speech, and really like how that open AI brain starts to work and takes it from what you're used to on a chat and then integrates it into a robot. But you can see the way it walks. I mean, it's just worlds better where it was. And then we're going to get the robot dog in here now. And you can see a little bit. By the way, this Go 2 that's about to come out, the Go 2 has been on the market for about 2 years. And Unitree has decided to keep the Go 2 in production because that hardware is up here. And the software on the Go 2 is getting better every day, where the dexterity of the Go 2, it's coming, it's so good where it can balance itself on like 1 foot. It's pretty incredible.
Why the it's not see-through, there's nothing there. Why the hole in like the headspace versus like kind of like the Optimus style look?
Yeah, so bring it over for a second. So Unitry's theory is everything's kind of for function, and this is really just to look like a head, right? So right here, there's a LiDAR, and this LiDAR has a 360-degree view. So as this is looking down and it's looking at spatial recognition, it needs to be there. You would think you need like eyes. So if you've seen the Unitry R1, which is a smaller version of the G1, what that actually uses is two cameras, a binocular, and what it actually does is almost recreate like a LiDAR-esque vision pattern. So that's kind of a function between vision and LiDAR. Now, if I'm going to relate back to like a Tesla uses vision right now. But if you see self-driving cars on the road, like in California, you'll see something that almost looks like a old school light on top of it. That's a LiDAR. So that's something like we have on tape over here, but a Hensai X16 or an X32, and that's a LiDAR giving it that spatial recognition at lightning fast speeds and processing. Now you'll see the go-to come in here. But that's why that head is like that. There's a reason why. And the humanoid heads that you'll see on like the Tesla Optimus, it's just a way of concealing kind of the LiDAR. So on this go-to, you'll see like the dexterity of it. It's incredible, right? So this product out of the box 2 years ago didn't do this. This is over-the-air software updates that have got it to be, this much more kind of functional. This is a pro model, so it's more consumer walking around like glorified RC. But even this has an AI model into it that if I ask it what's in the room, it's going to give me an entire like rundown of everything it's seeing. So it is getting progressively better, and that will eventually get into the G1. And I've seen the software that's developed on the G1, and it's actually getting to a point where it can answer questions right out of the box on the base board on the G1 Basic, not even having the upgraded NVIDIA computers like the EDU Plus we have over here. So you see this robot dog right now is walking around just like a human.
Yeah, that's freaky.
It's pretty freaky.
How do we
Did you see on the internet they had it where the robot ran up the wall and did the backflip?
I didn't see that one.
Yes.
Wow.
So I think that was with a G1 as well.
Okay.
But that's just showing like how strong these motors are and really what it's capable of. But the same thing with the Go-To. So we're seeing like that strength where it's able to stand on 2 feet, and it actually can do backflips. And you'll see it jump. It is pretty crazy.
It's gonna do a backflip?
We can't do it on this model, but it's able to do one. So
It's
all
able to do
custom
it.
code, right? These are out of the box. I mean, we do have custom code on this G1, but we're not utilizing it right now. We're just using a controller and kind of showing you what's like out of the box.
What's the most like efficient body in your eyes for a robot? Because right now we're kind of modeling like it looks like a dog or a human. Is that the most efficient body, or is there something else?
So it depends on what you want to do, right? So like I spoke about earlier, a quadruped is better for heavy payloads. So if you want to do security, if you want to do something where you want to carry multiple cameras, have multiple LiDARs, have all this payload that's going to be, you need to efficiently move it around at 40 to 50 pounds, like a quadruped's better. And actually in a couple seconds, I'm going to get one of the industrial quadrupeds to roll over here. But the quadruped that I'm going to roll over here can hold upwards of 100 pounds. So for that type of use case, that's great. But for every other type of use case where you have human-facing interaction, the humanoid is going to be a better option. So if you're looking to perform tasks that you're already utilizing a space that was optimized for humans, we're going to go with the humanoid. But when it comes to efficiency on security, inspection, or even moving large payloads, it's going to be the quadruped. The quadruped's the dog.
I have a question, just because I've been rewatching the MCU universe. So I'm curious, I got a lot of Tony Stark in my mind. Is there a world where these bodies that are being built humanoid style can turn into almost building things that accentuate humans? Like I can take the arm that you've built for that and strap it onto my arm, and now it can do things for me, or have like 2 more arms that, I strap on a vest and it's got 2 more arms and they do things. Like I'm just kind of spitballing. I'm curious if you thought about that.
So I definitely have, and I think like as the hands and different modules get better, I think we'll figure out ways to basically create some sort of link between, like the medical side and all the fancy stuff that they go to figure out how nerves work, and that's not my life, that's not my world, right? And take that and put it into the dexterity of the hands and everything that are coming out. So actually, Kamil, can you grab me a Inspire hand? I'm going to show you a 5-finger hand that has incredible dexterity that we actually link up to the G1 for custom development. And this hand, this hand is a full 5-finger hand with tactile sensors inside. So it's not hooked up to anything, but this can be programmed on its own. And essentially, this piece is almost as fluid as a hand. This has incredible dexterous movements. So I want to show you in the background as well. This is a B2. This B2 is over 100 pounds, and right now we have a proprietary firefighting system on top of this. But this unit is able to carry upwards of 100 pounds with ease, and the payload that's on top of it is about 60 pounds. This can walk for 6 to 8 hours with this payload with the current battery setup and do self-charging. So this unit is incredible, and we actually have a 5G router on the back, and this unit could technically be used all over, and you could use it in California and control it in New York. So this is something where you'd have more of an industrial type product, and this isn't a humanoid. But everyone's kind of moving towards humanoids, which is incredible, and that's going to be the mass rollout. But there are other robots that are just incredible for other purposes.
Did you say that it's a firefighting attachment on top?
Yeah. So this actually has.
It was a little scary when it was pointed at you. I can't lie.
Yeah, I was like, man, this looks like a Black Mirror scene, you know?
So actually on the back, this is a hookup for a standard 3-inch hose. And this is actually made in the United States, this piece by a company called Ancron. And this is a nozzle that's standard for firefighting. So this is something we've been testing. It was just on Fox News, and we did a whole test with a firefighter out east. And it was incredible. We actually put out a fire by hooking up directly to the hydrant, and we hooked up a hose, and this walked around and was able to approach a high-risk scene, which is pretty amazing. But yes, that's what's on top of it right now, is actually a water cannon. And we have sensors for this with oxygen sensors, thermal cameras, PTZ cameras, and it's pretty incredible.
I'd love to ask a quick question. So I was looking through the ETF itself, and a lot of the holdings, the KOID ETF, a lot of the holdings are China-based. Obviously, Crane Shares has a great record, building ETFs and products in that area. I was curious from your perspective on the robotics side, obviously Unitree and that side of the world, just, as a U.S. person, I only see a lot of these U.S. headlines. I'd be curious of what the ecosystem is looking like over there, maybe some of the differences, some stuff that maybe I think is 5 years away, but is actually a year or two away based on what's happening in other places in the world. I'd be curious what your viewpoints are there.
So I think China's kind of at the forefront of the actual deployment of technology on the hardware side. And I think there's a lot more fluidity on deploying hardware in China and letting it be without a solution base. And I think what limits a lot of the headlines in the United States is we're kind of playing catch up to basically develop on top of the hardware, where a lot of the stuff that's going on in China right now is the hardware is there and people are like, wait, let's just see what it can do. And more companies are seeing that there's a huge dynamic of people acquiring robots over in Asia. And I think it's just more widely accepted. I mean, if you go over, and look at some of the automation that they already have that's been out of the box for years, I mean, we just don't accept that type of technology as fluid in the United States, right? So I think the robot world and universe there is just much more widely accepted. And I think it's really what it is, right? So people want to get their hands on the hardware, where in the US, people want a reason to adapt to it. So they need the solution. And right now, there's not a lot of solutions that are out there and just going to say, plug and play, here's your robot, it's going to do this task. I mean, and that's what we're trying to kind of close the gap on right now, is creating niche solutions that are ready to go today that we can do with what our know-how is, and then the hardware that's we're being provided. So I think it's really an acceptance thing. And there's a lot more companies in China too that have developed humanoids, like Ubitech is one of them that Derek had brought up, and they create incredible humanoid, right? And they're not Unitree, but they're going for a product that's more of that perfected all-in-one product. And I think, ultimately, there's just a big gap between hardware and solution base of how we consume products in the United States. If that makes sense. It's a little bit convoluted of why, but I think it's just much more of an open architecture for building out not only robotic factories, which, by the way, these things are not what you think they are from an AI image. I mean, a lot of this stuff is being built by hand. These are aluminum extrusions, actuators, parts off of a STEM robotic, product. And then they're all put together into a humanoid. Like if you go to Unitree's factory, we're not there where this thing's being automated yet because we're on version 1, right? We're at the G1, right? Like there's so much more to go in the hierarchy of perfecting not only the product, but other aspects of it that I'm wondering myself of, how long, until we just see so many different models come out and it starts becoming way more widely adapted, not just in Asia, but in Europe and the United States. And we see this whole flow move over.
Yeah, I think it's something that some of this is in Asia. I think is almost out of necessity. I mean, we could speak at length about this industrial manufacturing know-how in China that's been developed over decades. And to Teddy's point, it's skilled labor. It's not cheap labor. But if you think about Japan, Japan's population peaked in 2012. In South Korea, the birth rate is down to 0.8. Some of this is fulfilling tasks. If you're in the Tokyo airports of Haneda or Narita, there's little wheelchairs that drive themselves around. There's no person pushing a wheelchair. It just you hop in and say, "Take me to gate 12." We had dinner with Alibaba in Hong Kong about a year ago, and they in the restaurant there was this R2D2 dumbwaiter that the waiter would put your dirty plate into this little R2D2 and it would just zip off. If you go into mainland China and order room service, the knock at the door, there's not a person handing you a tray with your food. You look down and there's this little, box with wheels with your food in it. You open it and take it out. So I think some of the development we're seeing in Asia is fulfilling jobs that there's a need, there's a necessity for it, and we're not quite there yet here in the U.S., but I don't think we're that far away, and they're just a little bit of a step ahead of us. It's nothing against us, we're headed in, we're getting there, thanks to Teddy and RoboStore. This is coming to a town near you soon.
Yeah.
But I think definitely in Asia, it's happening as we speak.
It's so cool to see this in real life. I'll say, obviously we're on the stream here, but just amazing to be able to watch it, walk around, do different stuff, learn about the attachments. I know that we have to wrap this one up here. We're coming into the top of the hour, but I want to give the audience a heads up. Tomorrow, we're going to have another space either at 4 or 5 p.m. Eastern, a little TBD there, with the team from Crane Shares. And then Thursday, we're going to be back on live stream, 11 a.m. Eastern, and we're going to go deeper into this world and really kind of follow up on this discussion. I could ask a million more questions right now. So I'm glad that we're doing it this week. Super exciting. Quick final comments, just about 30 seconds each. Brendan, any final comments from yourself?
Yeah, we'll definitely get this to you guys. Huawei wrote a huge white paper, over 700 papers, what they think the world is going to look like by 2035. In their opinion, 90% of Chinese households will have a humanoid robot by 2035. And I think that just shows you a little of a glimpse into the future, but this is happening. It's happening much sooner, and it's going to be happening here in the US as well. I
agree. Coming fast. Teddy.
I think I covered a lot of the good basis points. But I'm just happy that we got to show more of this to the world. I think it's really cool, and it gives people ideas. It's amazing. Every time we do a webinar or some sort of public event, there's always people that come out and they're like, "Hey, can do this," and we always gain someone who's interested and always furthers the conversation of a new project or someone else's brain adapting and saying, "Wait, what about this as a use case?" And the more we can deploy it today, the better.
100%. Thank you. And great demos throughout. And Derek, any final comments?
Yeah, I think just like from the investor perspective, KOID is really like unique exposures, like it's very diversified into the countries, into the sectors. And those, just look at the top 10 or top 50 names, like it's 50 name portfolio. A lot of names actually investors they never heard of or don't have exposure in the portfolio currently. So it's definitely a great diversifier for the portfolio.
Yeah, I really like it in this area. Encourage everybody to go take a look and add this to your watch list. Start doing deeper due diligence. It's KOID. Probably on the space or on the live stream, we'll actually go through deeper into the holdings as well. Today was more focused on the robot itself. Evan, any final comments before we close this one?
I appreciate everyone for coming in and hanging out. This was the first time we've ever done anything, any live content or anything with a robot here. So that's pretty awesome. I appreciate the Crane Shares team for making that possible. Obviously, the Robo Store doing some cool things. I've heard it's not too far from me as well, so maybe I get to come in and see some of this stuff in person. But a lot of really interesting things. Obviously, this is a theme that the market is watching very closely, and I'm excited to always get to learn more about it. And I appreciate everyone for coming in and hanging out. If you guys want to go in, obviously, we just want to put stuff on your radar. We want to put cool things that really smart people are doing in front of you. So at a minimum, you learn something, and at a maximum, maybe you go in and it's a right tool for you. But KOID, check out the website, check out more information. If you guys have any questions from this that you want us to ask in the future, we would love to come in and ask them. I see a couple in the chat. Maybe even have some stuff saved in my repertoire for next time. But I appreciate you. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out with us.
Yeah, thanks, everybody. Yeah, great commentary in the chat. Some good questions as well. We'll try to address this on the next one. That's going to do it for this one today. Make sure that you're following wherever you're watching this. Subscribe. Give it a